Michigan State University. I'd like to welcome you to our 8th Innovate State of the academic year and our 3rd Innovate State of the spring 2019 semester. We are broadcasting live via the live stream courtesy of the MSU Alumni Association from Erickson Hall here in the heart of Michigan State's campus in East Lansing, Michigan. I'd like to welcome not only everyone here in the room here this evening, but also the alumni and friends all across the globe that are tuning in to watch tonight's live stream. I'd like to, again, acknowledge the MSU Alumni Association for partnering with us to bring this live stream opportunity to fruition. I'd like to remind everyone that's watching either live here in the room or across social media, you are welcome to follow along the conversation using the hashtag InnovateState through Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. You can follow on there as well. Tonight's Innovate State is also being recorded as a Hatchcast, and you might ask, what is that? That's actually a podcast produced by our team here at Spartan Innovations, along with some of our students at the Hatch, which is the student incubator for the Michigan State student community. You can find that podcast, which is now in season 3, if I'm not mistaken, on Apple iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, or wherever you might find your stream of podcast. Just a few announcements about upcoming opportunities you might want to be aware of. Our next Innovate State is scheduled for Wednesday, March 19th, featuring Tracy Garley, who is the founder of Zarpkas. She's got a really fascinating story to share. She's coming to us from Southeast Michigan. She'll be here in just a few weeks, so go on spring break. If you're a student, come back, refresh, energize, and come back here and join us here at Erickson Hall on Wednesday, March 19th at 6 p.m. If you are a student at Michigan State, and this is one of your first times getting a chance to participate in Innovate State, and you're new to entrepreneurship at the university, rest assured there are a ton of different ways for you to get involved with our programs and initiatives here at the university. One of the ways you might do that is joining the Hatch. I've mentioned that already tonight. That is our student incubator for the Michigan State community. It's free to become a member. Tons of resources. Just went through a massive renovation this past summer and fall. You can find us at the MSU Innovation Center on Grand River Avenue in downtown East Lansing, right across the street from campus. We've also got a plethora of student organizations affiliated with entrepreneurship, including Women in Entrepreneurship, the Entrepreneurship Association, and a few others. And if you are interested in getting more information about the program here at Michigan State, if you're interested in getting involved, meeting other students that are involved in the programs, find one of those student organizations, and it's a great way for next steps in getting involved at Michigan State. And if you want to learn more about those organizations, you can just go to eship.msu.edu. You can find all the information there. Just a few housekeeping things. Restrooms obviously way down the hall here in Erickson Hall. Tonight's format is going to be more of a fireside chat, Q&A type of format. Obviously very casual, fun, relaxed, informative, authentic. You're going to love tonight's speaker. Mike is one of the most charismatic speakers we could think to bring back to this campus, so I'm sure you will love the knowledge that he's going to be sharing with all of you this evening. If you've got laptops, that's great, but I would encourage you to put them away because you don't want to miss a second of what Mike's going to say. If you're taking notes for a class, feel free to do that. But again, I hope that you can stay engaged, and you don't need technology to just kind of really soak up what Mike's going to share with all of you this evening. Last but not least, I'd like to go ahead and introduce my colleague as well as our esteemed guest this evening. First and foremost, my colleague Aaron Richard is the communications manager for the MSU Foundation and its subsidiaries, including Spartan Innovations. He's a writer, a poet, a shutterbug, a storyteller, and a massive fan of entrepreneurs. Aaron drives both the strategy and the message, communicating our stories to our most valued audiences. He may be a Colorado State University alumnus, but we're proud he still bleeds green and white. If you could all join me in welcoming Aaron to the stage.
Thanks, Chris.
All right, now to introduce to you our esteemed alumnus this evening. Mike Kalis is a Metro Detroit businessman and entrepreneur who has grown Marketplace Homes from one man in a basement to an organization that is in 201 markets, reaching over 5,000 clients, nearly 100 team members, and with annual revenue eclipsing $30 million in 2014, all before he turned 34 years old. Marketplace Homes is now the largest broker of new construction homes in the United States and was named the 99th fastest growing company in the U.S. in 2013, according to Inc. magazine. Mike is a former Crain's Detroit 20 in their 20s awardee, has received recognition in many notable publications, including Forbes Magazine, Builder Magazine, the Detroit News, Detroit FreePress, DBusiness Magazine, Fox Business Network, and more, just to name a few. Mike studied marketing and is a proud graduate of the Broad College of Business at MSU. If you could all join me in welcoming Mike Kalis to the stage.
Thanks, Michael. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Thank you, Mike.
Yeah.
For traversing the northern lands.
Oh man, I'm excited to be here. They got free pizza. I mean, I was like jazzed. I'm like, how are we going to get a bunch of people to come here and they have free pizza? And so now I totally understand it. And thank you for everybody that came to hang out. My goal is to make this entertaining and provide you a little bit of my background and some stories on entrepreneurship that hopefully helps.
I'm so glad that you're here. And again, if you are on Twitter or Instagram, you can follow us at MSU Hatch, and we're tweeting live right now, and there's some Instagram stories being produced. Please join the conversation. So Mike, let's walk this slowly out of the gate. Where did you grow up?
So I'm from Plymouth, Canton. So
we won't hold that against you. Anybody else from Plymouth?
There's
Canton?
always somebody from Plymouth, Canton in every class that you're in. So that was originally where I grew up.
How did growing up there inform who you are today as an entrepreneur?
Well, it was probably kind of growing up there a little bit and then moving to Michigan State. So when I was 18, basically anything I had that I thought was financially going to keep me up went away. So I started at Michigan State, and everything totally evaporated, and I was kind of working with nothing. So I started here over in Acres. So I lived over there when I was 18 years old, and just tried to had to figure out ways to kind of make some money. So I actually worked at Cottage Inn. I don't even know if it's still here. They still have Cottage Inn up here?
That's where we're at.
Is that where our pizza is? Oh, cool.
Thank you, Cottage Inn.
Yeah, so I mean, I was making, like $5 an hour or something, and, I was sharing, I think that was the entrepreneurial start, was out of necessity, right? Like when you can't make ends meet, you figure stuff out. So I would steal pizzas.
How did you do that?
Yeah, so I found out that if you messed up all the pizzas, so if anyone works over there, you can do this. Like if somebody would order pepperoni and you put mushrooms on it, then they'd be like, dude, you messed this up. And be like, And I'd do that 5 times a night, so then I could walk out with this pile of pizzas that then I would go and sell for a couple dollars a piece in the dorms. And I mean, that was literally how I got by paying rent for a little bit, covering food.
So you sell food. What else did you do in undergrad?
So I was a business major. So I was on the business side, and I really enjoyed that. I actually got a job with Monster.com, which now who cares? But they were the 60th first website or something in the internet. And
most of us care about that.
Yeah, so I don't know. Well, now it's a job search website. At the time, they were trying to target high school kids and help them go to college. So I actually I got a gig with them my junior year where they would pay me $100. So I was just like, this is more money than I could ever dream of to go and talk to high school kids about going to college. And so my senior year, I kind of missed a lot of classes because they would give me $100. So I would go around and go to different schools all throughout the Midwest, and I'd talk about going to school and what it meant to be successful. And it was really funny because I had a super beat up car that was rusted through the bottom. So I was like Chris Farley. I'd show up and be like, this is going to be about success. And I smelled like oil because the car would literally leak oil in. Like when it would rain, it would spray oil at me while I was driving. But they let me do it, and that was a great lesson.
What kind of car was it?
It was a really old Jeep Wrangler. It was so cool.
My very first car was a Chevette.
Okay.
Yeah, it was also from 1973, so yeah. Yeah. I'm just saying I can sympathize.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I appreciate that, Aaron.
So, I mean, is your family entrepreneurial?
Well, my dad was a stockbroker. I grew up kind of knowing the price of Ford stock. We do a lot at our office now around take your son or daughter to work day. Because I remember when I was 8 years old going in, I just thought it was the coolest thing. Like he had multiple computer screens and was on the phones and would be like, Mike, sell Ford stock, and I'd type it in, and I thought that was kind of neat. So That's probably my family background, I suppose.
So you thought that maybe your dad also worked on the Starship Enterprise, or?
Well, when you're young, you just think computers are cool.
Well, they are
I mean,
cool.
It was like 1988, so.
So giant monitors that,
Yeah.
that sort of whirred and hummed and gave off enough heat. So, can you tell us about your undergrad experience?
Yeah, I mean, what would you like to know?
I don't know. Give us a synopsis.
Okay.
Like you started out. So when did you come to MSU?
Okay, so started in 2000, so I was 2000 to 2004. I had 4 different majors,
Okay.
So I started very confused. I think I originally was like in communications, and then advertising, and then all kinds of different things. Ended up in marketing, and that was mostly just because I really did like business, and that was what I always kind of wanted to end up going into. If you're still on the first couple year side, I feel like the junior senior classes were always better, and I really dug those because they got in a little bit deeper into like perceptual mapping with marketing and some different things like that. One tip I would share is I remember my senior year, my roommate and I both had the same class, and there was this professor, and we were just like, man, I'm gonna like take him out for beer. Right, I was finally like 21, and it was this eye-opening experience where I learned that like professors are humans. I don't know, for the longest time, it was just like they're really evil and trying to give me bad grades. And so we went out, we had dinner with this guy, we had a beer. He's not here anymore. We came back for a long time. And I'll just say that like all my grades were easier. And I don't know if it was because he was being nice to me, or if because I felt a responsibility to him, because I had this relationship where like I didn't want to let him down. And it was a 400 level marketing class that I just loved, and I loved what he was teaching. And the thing I just kind of share is building relationships is way better than turning in the paper. And the people that are up here teaching and sharing things are probably here because they dig doing it. I mean, I love coming back. I was getting the chance to talk to just a couple people around here. Like the energy and stuff that once you leave here, you'll just want to come back to Michigan State. You'll be like, oh man, I come back here and everybody's so excited. They've got great hearts, great spirit. I can just feel it. And the more you can build those little relationships, like that might sound weird to ask your professor out to lunch. Be careful. I think somebody could probably get sued over it if you do it wrong or something like that. So it would be really serious. But I mean, like just do it in like a kind way, or build a little bit of a relationship, and just trust me. Then you'll feel more compelled to perform for them, do a great job, and honestly, they'll be a little bit more vested in you and really take the time.
Well, I think that building relationships is really the foundation of being an entrepreneur, right? Yeah. And so knowing how to navigate those relationships and having them be at a professional level, and developing interpersonal skills with the people who are helping you guide and seed your education, that's a really important thing.
Yeah.
I don't know, call me crazy.
I will not call you crazy.
So thank you, I appreciate that. Oh, wow, I found the mic. Hi guys, welcome back. So I want to go back to your sort of confusion in 4 different majors at the beginning of your time here. I think a lot of people start out and they go, oh, I'm supposed to have my entire career mapped out before me, and anybody feel that kind of pressure? It's okay, it's okay. Fantastic. One person is like, okay, now, oh good, we're not alone.
It's low pressure in
yeah,
here, man.
it's
That's
totally
great.
Low pressure. I think it's okay to have that sort of confusion. I don't know if it's confusion. I think it's figuring out who you are and what you want to do, right?
Yeah, so I have a guy on our board of directors, and he was the COO of Pulte Homes, and I'm really blessed. He's kind of been a mentor for me, and anytime you can find a good mentor, that's great. And so he managed 10,000 people. His salary was published. He made $4 million a year. And when I talked to him, I was always like, I'm just trying to make it, man. Like if we can get through this week, there's going to be this moment where it's going to be amazing. And you're always kind of envisioning businesses like, you go public or something and everyone's carrying you out in a chair, and they're like holding you up and everyone's like, yeah, you're the man or the girl, like this is rocking. And the problem with that is that business is kind of this slow slog where like you slowly get a little better, a little better, a little better, a little better. And then when you stop and you look back and you go, man, look at how far we've come. Like, look at everything that we've done. I mean, you read my bio. I was impressed. That sounded cool. And they don't even know who I am. So I'm like, wow. But like when you reflect back and you go like, wow, that's like 15 years of like slowly hiring one person, hiring another person, saying we're going to go and start in Chicago. We're going to start in Phoenix. We're going to start in Orlando. And then when you step back and look at it, you kind of go, man, we've really come really far. And so like just kind of that mindset of just you build every single day to just get a little better, a little better, a little better, trying to be great.
How long did you work at Cottage Inn?
Oh, well, they fired me eventually because I think they caught on to my antics. About a year.
Hey, that's long enough.
Yeah.
I think people have worked shorter stints at McDonald's.
Yeah.
So, which, by the way, is a great place to work. If you ever need a job, I've done it for 6.5 years. It was good times.
Well, Cottage Inn worked out okay for me.
Yeah, I mean, and you could sell the pizza. I think that's awesome. So what happened after you, I mean, I hear you talking about Pulte Homes. When did you start with them?
Okay, so kind of not having a whole lot of dough in school, I was able to do the speaking thing, and that kind of helped me out a little bit. They came here and recruited. You are blessed at Michigan State. There are companies that will come here and say, hey, we'd love to have you come work for us. And they basically said you could make 6 figures at 22 years old, and I was in. I'd been poor for long enough, and I'm like, I'm there, man. That sounds pretty good to me.
How long did you stick around with them?
So I was there for 3 years, and you could. It was a pretty neat experience. So if you're ever considering sales, I can tell you that there are certain sales jobs where you really can make a lot of money. So we had a sales team of 50 people that were 22 to 28 years old, and the lowest paid person made 100 grand, and the top made 500. The parking lot was like a Cadillac dealership, and it really was that. And we were stupid, and everybody spent it because we were young and we were broke. The profile that they hired, I realized afterwards, was me, because I got to be on the recruiting team. They wanted a C+ student that was really, really money hungry. So I was like, oh man, like they found this like broke kid that was like, I will do whatever, like if I don't have to be broke anymore, and that was what they found. So anyway, we worked there for 3 years, really, really liked it. I was the guy in the back of the room that kept raising my hand and saying, I've got a better idea. Guys, what if we did this? What if we tried that? What if we did this? And they kept saying, man, we're a big, huge company. They're the biggest builder in the country, or second biggest. They build 30,000 homes a year. Mike, just do the thing we're telling you to do and you'll make money and everything will be good. And I couldn't. Like, I just couldn't follow the directions. I couldn't do it. It was like I always had to do it my own way. I had to build this bigger thing. And finally, towards the end, they let me run with some of my ideas. So my biggest idea, without getting all lost in it, number one, just raise your hand a lot. Ask a ton of questions. And don't let people like stomp it, right? Like I had so many people. I had 7 bosses. So, and I was like, what, 23, 24 years old? And I'm like, guys, I have this great idea for this $100 million development. And people were like, God, that kid just needs to shut up. And I couldn't, because it's like I'm not wired that way, right? So I just kept raising my hand. So the idea that we kind of latched onto was in 2007, the market totally collapsed, and they couldn't sell homes, but we would sell a $400,000 home. Hey, do you want to know how much money a builder makes on a $400,000 home? You want to take a guess?
Anybody?
50,000.
Okay. Anyone else have a guess?
It's okay.
Throw a number out.
40,000.
Okay. About $100,000. So there's about $100,000 in profit on a 400. So nice job. Wait, who had that? Was that? Dude, you are like the winner in the Grand Poobah for tonight. I offer you free pizza. So unbelievable. So if you're working for a builder or if somebody's buying a home, they have about a 25% margin, sometimes a little bit more. And the problem at the time was somebody couldn't sell their old home to get into a new home. So I just was looking at it and I'm like, man, if you took some of the profit out of this, if somebody's trying to get out of a $100,000 home and buy a $400,000 home, you could just take the profit around here and I can get rid of the other home. Nobody wanted to do it. Everyone just said, just stay in your lane. Everyone makes money. You're fine. Everything's going to be okay. And I couldn't. And I followed that and I left and everyone thought I was crazy. I think I was 24 and I made $160,000 that year and left. I then watched the next 12 months all my friends get fired because the market collapsed and I hired them. So we basically just hired all my buddies because I kind of got this start just a little bit quicker, and I was just a little bit quicker to kind of pull that. And there were a lot of great, incredible people. that lost a job, not because they were bad, but because the economy was pulling back. And so we saw it as an opportunity to just keep hiring them and kind of ran with that model. We would work on buying someone's old home so they could build a new one, and we would charge the builder some of the equity so it could come back.
So I find this interesting. You leave Pulte.
Yep.
And you're leaving right at the start of the housing crisis.
Yep.
And you say, I'm going to go into real estate. And I think that I am a risk-averse individual. I like my data. I like to feel comfy and cozy in there. But instead, you're like, I'm going to run headlong into this. Why?
Yeah. So, can you have more risk when you're 70 or when you're 20?
20.
Yeah. Why?
Less to lose.
You have less to lose.
Okay, you may have replaced Grand Poobah.
Yeah, so I mean, that's it, right? So, I mean, when I ask people that are in school, and I'll be like, what holds you back from trying something? Somebody will say, well, I don't have any money, or I don't have any experience. But the truth is, exactly what you're hitting on, is taking risks is harder the longer in life you go. And so when you do it and you have nothing to lose, fortunately, I might have made good money that year, but I spent it all. I had a big TV. Like that literally, when you're like a boy and you're 24, you're like, a 72-inch TV is going to do it for me. That's going to be awesome. And a bar tab that was very, very large. So those were like my biggest expenditures. And so I just looked at it and I'm like, I have nothing to lose. I think I had about $10,000 in savings. That was it. And I felt like if I failed at 25 years old, so what? Dust to dust. I started with nothing. If I end back at nothing, at least I'll have a great story to tell. And the truth is, there were many months, and there still are, where we look at it and we go, man, how are we going to get to the next place? How are we going to get over that hump? But I think when you do that when you're younger, you're more able to take those risks. And the other part is faith, which, I think having a lot of faith in God and somebody to be able to get you to that next level is really important.
I think that's a fair point. And I think you also invested in a team that you believe in.
Yeah.
And so there's faith there too.
Yeah.
And so if you look retrospectively back at that team, what was the key characteristic that you looked at as people were sort of abandoning ship from other places?
So the best time to create something is when there's dissonance, right? So the best time to just ride with something is when there's not. And we're in an interesting time. Like, you guys are going to come out. How many people here are seniors, out of curiosity? A few? You guys are coming out in a great time in some respects, because there's lots of companies and people that are kind of clamoring for you. Like, how wonderful. I remember being back here a few years ago, and I'm like, whew, this is going to be rough. But I mean, there's people clamoring for you. So there's people that are overpaying and good. They should. Michigan State people are worth at least double everyone else. So we all know that. But
take that to the bank, my friend.
Yeah, well, you can, man. You really can. I mean, we take a lot of pride in hiring a ton of Michigan State people, so we think it's great. But when there's dissonance, there's an opportunity. And so any business that you want to go into, you kind of want to look at like the vertical, the career path that you're going into, be that technology, be that medical. I know you're talking about going into medical. And you want to be able to find like the disruptive dissonance. And there's so much of it out there right now. There's so many different career paths. But if you get in something that is disruptive because there's problems and there's dissonance, there's an opportunity to solve it. So the biggest dissonance then was the economy stunk and nobody could move a home. So if you figured out how to do it, people would pay you a ton of money. We were sharing, the biggest commission I made off of a house was $160,000 to sell a $400,000 house. And it's because the market sucked. We would hire people at $8 an hour that had master's degrees in 2008 because you could.
Yep.
And the truth was it was just getting on the right side of the equation at the right time. So at that time we could do that. Now that you can't at all. So now we have to pay good minimum wage in our company is $13. So if you're starting, it's $13 just to be on our team and help answer phones. And then, we have lots of people that are well into the six figures, and beyond. But at that time, you could start at a relatively small spot and build.
So, let's take it back for just a second. So, if you were to sit down with 24-year-old Mike Callis, what advice would you give him? Well, so not necessarily 24-year-old, because say you're a senior. What would you tell senior at MSU, Mike Callis?
Just follow your heart, and everybody says that stuff and it's so cheesy. But like truly, like just drive, like try things. A lot of it we did. I talk to people and if you can solve a problem for somebody and you can do it better than somebody else, you deserve to be paid properly for it. I met this guy over here is telling me that he sold, how many shirts did you say you sell?
Almost 700.
700 freaking shirts, man. And what year are you out here?
I am sophomore, technically sophomore.
All right, so sophomore, $24 a pop?
Yeah.
700.
Depends, yeah. It's ridiculous. I don't know. And it's been like 3.5, 4 months too.
Yeah, like how cool. So in 3.5 months, I'm not a mathematician, but 24 times 700 is a lot. That's more than I ever made in my sophomore year. And it doesn't take that much more math to drop another zero after it. I mean, like, that's a freaking business. That's a company. And so, like, I'm so proud of people at Michigan State that are making that leap at, I'm guessing, like, maybe 19.
19, almost 20.
All right. I'll give you the extra, so 19 and a half. I didn't mean to short you on that. But I mean, that's incredible. Like, that's remarkable. That's so cool. And what does it take to do the step to make, like, that first shirt? That's the hardest thing, right? And then you start with one. You start with one shirt, somebody wants to buy it, cool. Or maybe you had to do a batch of 10, I don't really know. I'm not in that industry. But then you just keep building on it, and you keep building on it. And the truth is, going from 700 to 7,000 is actually a lot easier than it is to go from 0 to 1. Getting that first thing started is the hardest. So to answer your question, it's to take a leap and to maybe do it faster. I waited till I was 25. Why not 19? Because I'll tell you what, whether that fails or doesn't, when you go and get a job, that is going to be the coolest interview answer that you've ever had. Right? Well, what did you do? Well, I created this business that ended up making tens of thousands of dollars and blah, 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 and you're hired. I mean, I'm just telling you, like, that is so different. That is so vastly different from what anyone else is doing. And that doesn't have to be what you do. But why not? Why not take a shot? Find some sort of problem and then sort of figure it out and solve it. Is that my ramble long enough?
I love that. Right. There was no ramble there. There are nuggets of wisdom in that, and you better tweet them, just saying. So what advice would you give to Mike at 19 about being here at MSU? What's one thing that you wish you had done that you didn't do? You know,
I spent a lot of time really just thinking, oh no, if I don't get a good GPA, somebody's going to have a problem with it. And the idea of like starting an actual business here, I mean, even if you did it real small, right? You make a few $100 or 1,000. That's incredible. The other thing was your time is actually more valuable probably interacting with each other than it is going and studying. And you kind of go like, are you supposed to say that? I don't really know. But I mean, to run a little experiment, like if you spend 20 seconds, introduce yourself to the person that's on your right. Say, hi, I'm a Spartan alumni, and I'm going to be, so here, just do this. Turn and repeat after me. Hello, I'm a Spartan alumni. I will be. Yeah. My name is fill in the blank. And in 10 years, I'm going to be a multimillionaire. It kind of looks like you might be too. We should probably hang out. All right, cool. Now that you guys have all met, that's really good.
Fantastic.
So, and then maybe when we're done, you actually spend a second and kind of meet the person next to you. But my point is I have been blown away by the people that I graduated with here, and then I look at what they're doing, and I'm like, oh my God, that is so cool. And it's in different industries, and it's doing different things, and people moved all over the place, but like we stay in touch because we had a lot of fun when we were here, and like we have that bond. And so when I bring them an idea or something where I'm like, hey, I kind of got this investment idea. I mean, like, if I brought it to one of you guys, you're like, we have never met, and you seem a little crazy. You'd be right. But when I bring it to my old friends, they're like, we have met, and you are a little crazy, and I'm going to invest with you because I know it, right? So I mean, like, they understand who I am, and they kind of see what's going on, and it just makes life easier. So, I mean, I would say that the reality of sitting in a class, make sure at some point you turn to the other person and say, hey, and just kind of get to know them a little bit and understand what they're going into. And even if it seems like it's very different from what you're doing, you'd be amazed at how 10 years into this, those people are extremely successful, and they'll take your phone call because you hung out when you were in college. Like, you got to first have 30 minutes of fun memories, which you'll enjoy anyway, and then you'll talk about what you're doing, and it's pretty neat.
Connect.
Yeah.
Build relationships.
Absolutely.
I feel like that is a core theme with every individual who has sat in that chair. And they have repeated over and over again. It is the relationship that I built right here on campus with my professors or with my cohort, that those are the connections that last and that have carried me through and have helped me to build success. Yeah. You and I had a conversation last night, and you said that you wanted to talk about your $1 million mistake. And
Yeah.
it revolved around technology.
Yeah. So I
Lean
did-
into this, my friends.
All right. So I did do something I lost $1 million on. So, and I'll share it. And I think a lot of people don't want to share the things that they've messed up for obvious reasons, right? Nobody wants to sit here and say, let me tell you about the class I failed, the time I didn't win. But the truth is every single day we probably buy something that I mess up. There's some house or something else. So anyway, we basically spent a whole lot of money developing an app. It's still awesome, by the way, and it ends up being the way that we show homes. But we didn't do it right, and I lost $1 million because of the way that we set it up. So first, let me tell you what we were doing. We wanted to show homes remote. So in about 2012, we came up with a product called Zip Tours. You can look it up on our website. It's pretty cool. So basically, it allowed our team that if you were looking at a home in Chicago or a home in Florida or a home in Colorado, a salesperson would stream live in real time to you, so you could go through and see the home. And what this would allow our sales team to do is, instead of getting in a car and going and showing you all the houses and everything that you wanted to see, they could at 8 o'clock show you a home in Chicago, and at 8:30 show you one in Orlando, and then at 9 o'clock show you one in Los Angeles. So the idea of being able to show homes all across the country is kind of groundbreaking, right? Like you know, this had never been done before. So we did two things. One was I told the team, like, hey, let's hire 7 people that are really smart, that know about technology, and let's pay them a whole bunch of money and put them in a room over here to develop this app. And then I had people on the sales team that are like, well, what do you want me to do in the meantime? I'm like, I don't know, just call clients and kind of get them into a house. So we spent $1 million developing this technology, and when we were done, we basically had to throw out the app because it was buggy, and it didn't quite work, and people didn't like the interface and all this other stuff. And the thing that did work was Charla, who was my assistant, was like, Mike, I'm just picking up the phone and talking them through the homes. So we threw the app out, and instead, we basically put a sign on the front of each house that said, call this number. And when they did, our team would just let them in the house and like take them through. We came up with a very, very cheap way to do an automatic lock that we could control remotely. And right now, we do 400 to 500 showings a day with a staff of 7 people on that project.
That's amazing.
And they show homes all throughout the country, not using the $1 million in technology that we developed, but basically using everything that was already there.
I think, so the other thing that is a common theme is that failure is okay. It is okay.
Yep.
And we should be talking about failure because every failure teaches us, well, if we do it right, we learn from our failures, and then we build it onto success.
Yeah. So
Has that been your experience?
it seems like failure's okay later, right? Like if you're actually in the class and you're failing it, you don't feel okay, right? I mean, I don't know. You guys all look pretty smart. So maybe no one's been like in a class and you're like, wow, I'm actually going to fail this class. Maybe you're not hitting the grade you want to get. I want to get a 4.0, I'm at a 3.5. I don't know. Everyone here has their different standards and what you're shooting for. And when you're in that, that's not working. When your girlfriend just dumped you, that doesn't feel good. When your boyfriend just dumped you, that doesn't feel good. When you just ordered 100 shirts because you came up with a new cool way to do it and you've taken it around to all your buddies and they hate them, that doesn't feel good. When you've purchased a bunch of real estate in a particular market and it's going to lose a whole bunch of money, at that time it's crazy. But then it feels like whenever you reflect back on it later, you go, man, God had a plan for me, right? I had to go through that process there so that it turns out stubbing my toe on what was at the time a ton of money for our company. That was a ton of capital that had been basically blown. Later, when there's even more at stake, I had that experience to be better. So I would say it is good. Everyone says, oh, failure is great. But the problem is when you're in it, I'm not going to tell you to feel good. It sucks. What was that? Question or? Yeah, no worries. So I was going to say, I mean, when you're in it, it sucks. When something's not working for you, it really hurts. And I think that you have to understand that emotion and have that emotion. And it's okay. When you get dumped, you're not going to be like, well, this is great because I'll learn from it. No, you're going to feel bad. You're going to emotionally be hurt. And you have to go through that process. But very likely that's setting you up for something in the future so that you can have more success. If that makes sense.
So let's walk through a perfecting process.
Okay. So we came up with a 3-step process. So it feels like it's out of a textbook, but I swear to God, there's some goodness in this. So we said that there's hypothesis, then there's proof, and then there's scale. And what we tried to do with the technology is we jumped from hypothesis to scale. So let me just tell you how this works. So hypothesis is you're sitting in your dorm room and you're like, Aaron, I got this really cool idea.
I love the idea.
It's awesome. Dude, you know what we really should do?
We need to do the idea.
We need to have an app where it helps people with ideas. Wouldn't that be great?
An ideator.
An ideator. And I mean, this is so cool. And we're just going to sit here and brainstorm this thing. And that costs nothing. It's super fun because we're the world needs this ideator. It's going to be awesome. I'll go over to the Hatch. They can help fund the thing. I'll build it out there. This is going to be phenomenal.
And we've just had 4 beers now.
Yeah, and now we're 4 beers in, and this idea is getting really good. And this is when it's all good. So that's the hypothesis stage. And the thing about it is hypothesis costs nothing. It's great to just kind of brainstorm like that and throw some stuff out there. But the problem is a lot of people then jump from that and go, cool, now we're going to go build this thing out. And it's going to be awesome, and there's going to be 1 million users. And they skip that little middle part of sort of trying it out on somebody. Maybe we should get out of our dorm room. I mean, we had 4 beers and came up with the ideator. Maybe I should go over and talk to this guy over here and actually see what he thinks.
Do you like the ideator?
Of course. Okay, now let's ask the important question. Are you willing to pay $1,000 to have the ideator app? Okay. Oh. So everyone will like your idea, and they're your best friend until you ask them to cut you $1. Right? You could be like, how about, dude, would you give me $1 for this app? Maybe. All right. So I'm starting to kind of get in the realm. So that's moving more into, so you go from hypothesis more into proof, which is you're going out and you're trying to say, look, I want to actually get a buyer for this. I might have no product, but I might say, you know what, why don't we sign a contract up front? You give me that $1 now. And then once I've got the app, I'll put it together. We're kind of buddies anyway, so that's not horrible, right? And you will get all the objections. You'll have somebody that's like, I mean, it sounded cool when you guys were talking about it, but there's no way I'm paying you for that. Well, then that's not a very good business, right? And so our idea on the proof is you've got to get from 1 to 10. So you've got to take this hypothesis and not go and spend $1 million building an app. Hopefully we've given you that little tidbit to get around that.
That's your free tip.
Yeah, get out there and offer it to somebody. Get from 1 to 10. Because what's going to happen is our ideator might have been really cool, and then we find out, oh my God, you know what's really great? Who digs this is professors. So I didn't even know that there's this niche with professors, and they love an ideator. And they build this app where professors all around the country share great ideas on this app, and it's called the Professor Ideator. And now when I'm going to build it, I'm going to build it for professors, which would have been very different if I would have just built it for students. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and you pick up those little market niches just by throwing it out and talking to people.
And it sounds like you're not going to spend $1 million.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. This is going somewhere. But we're still in the hypothesis stage, and we'll see if Chris will really throw us that $1.
It has to be ad-free, I'm sure.
Yeah.
No pop-ups, thank you. That's nothing wrong with pop-ups.
We'd have to test it in the proof stage.
That's absolutely right.
Right.
So when all of you registered for this session, you submitted questions, and quite honestly, a lot of the questions were incredibly smart. Others were like, NA, I don't have a question, and that's okay. I have a few questions more for you, and this is the speed round, and then we're gonna go and we're gonna flip it over to you. Is that all right? Can I get a yes? Oh, good. They're awake. I think they're awake. Okay, so first question. What is your favorite word?
My favorite word? Dude.
Okay.
I think I use that way too much.
What is your least favorite word?
Poop, because I have a small child that keeps using that word.
How old?
3 and 6.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
What turns you on creatively, spiritually, or emotionally?
Other people that are like vibing with you.
Okay.
Right. So somebody that can sit with you and go, the ideator, that's so cool. Yeah, it is cool. And they can understand that like you just need to let me get through this is going to be 4 hours of this until we hit something that's really rocking.
Dinner. That's until we hit dinner.
Yeah, like, can I share a short little?
Yeah.
We just created an ad, and it's called Deep Fried Pickles.
Which are delicious.
I love it. So we do business down in Louisiana, Alabama, South and North Carolina, and we were eating lunch one day, and I'm just like, like a guilty pleasure is I love deep fried pickles. And the guy I'm with is like, dude, I wrote a song called Deep Fried Pickles. And I'm like, you did not. And he's like, I did. And so he just starts singing the song, and I'm like, that's a perfect ad, because it's like, if you can't sell your house, you're in a pickle. And like, we spent an hour just kind of going like, and like throwing stuff back and forth. And now we have this like incredible production value like ad that we put together. And the only problem was like recording it took extra long because we just kept falling over laughing that we're like in a recording studio with this just silly ad. And I think when you're around other people that can kind of be silly with you and just sort of like throw stuff out there. And I mean, we're going to put $100,000 a month behind this in certain markets. So it's kind of like, whoa, we're really going to be pushing this thing. But it came off of just this like silly, goofy conversation with somebody that I love that we were able to just kind of like throw ideas back and forth and vibe.
Play. Curiosity.
Yeah.
What turns you off creatively?
It's somebody telling you no. No to me is I will show you how to get around your no. Somebody saying that your ideas suck, which I get a lot of. Corporate crap. As we've grown as a company, it used to be, when you're small, you'll love it. When you have the small t-shirt company, you can kind of sit around, it's like just you or you and one other guy, and I'm like, Aaron, what's really cool is we should build these new shirts. It's kind of gotten now, we have different departments and things, and so it's very difficult. You say like, great, we're going to do this cool new idea, and someone's like, well, we got to run that by legal. And kind of vibing with that and trying to figure out how to like have your creative time with like the people where you can do that, and then also get real and be able to kind of drive it through and like push it through all the departments because you get more leverage. So it's great when you can have hundreds of people go and like push your idea out. It can be bigger, but it does cut down on your creativity a little bit.
So the larger it gets, the more bureaucracy happens,
Yeah.
But that's the nature of it, right?
I think as an entrepreneur, you fight that nature. You fight it because you want it to be not what you left. I left a big bureaucracy because I didn't like a big bureaucracy. And, we're 100 people. That's not exactly a bureaucracy, but it's not exactly just you and I sitting here talking anymore.
Right.
So figuring out how to get through that so that you can still drive creativity is sometimes tricky.
What is your favorite, never mind, that's wrong, I can't ask that question. What sound or noise do you have? What sound or noise do you love?
Sound or noise?
Yes.
I don't even know what that means. You mean like a sound?
Yeah, like nails on chalkboard.
Oh, well, okay, you wouldn't like that so much. Like the Michigan State fight song gets me jacked.
There you go.
So, that's pretty good. That'd probably be a favorite.
What sound or noise do you hate?
Anything with U of M.
Ah.
Yeah.
What profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
I would love to be a professional speaker. I'd love to do that. Just go around and chat.
I could see that. What profession would you not like to do?
I'm probably not cut out to be an engineer.
Why?
It's too much. I'm a circular thinker.
Okay.
So I like to do things, kind of like this, and that's more, you got to do A to get to B.
Okay. If heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
That you did a great job pushing Jesus, that you lived a life that was good, that helped advance a good cause through the world.
I think that's admirable. All right. Thank you for answering my questions. We're going to turn it over to you. First question, who's got it?
I've got a mic
It's so funny. They all submitted questions, and then they're like, I don't know if I can answer this.
Well, I'd love to ask questions back if nobody has, because I would say, like, has anyone else started a business or tried to, like, actually sell stuff? Because I thought your example was really cool. What have you done?
I started a drone photography business.
Cool, that's super awesome. So, like, what are you shooting with drones and what are you doing?
I started off pretty locally. Thanks. Just like around my lake. My dad's really into technology and everything, so he picked up a drone, and I figured, you know what, like, not a lot of people have this, and I felt like a lot of people would like pictures of their houses or videos of them wakeboarding or tubing or slalom skiing or something. So I just kind of just went out there and I put it on like a lake email or whatnot, and a lot of people came back, they're like, yeah, it's a great idea, I'd love you to come out and film this, and I had a lot of fun.
I love that. That's rocking. So what is your goal with that? Is it to make a little bit of money, or what do you want to do with that?
You know, I can't really do much now that I'm in college, but over the summer I'd love to try to like open up a website, even maybe expand off the lake, like into my whole city or something like that. I could see myself making some money off that.
So you want to be like the best drone photographer in the area?
Yeah, easily.
That would be super cool. And so here's the question that I'd ask for everybody. Where is there a screaming need for drone photography? Because there's a lot of people that want drone photography, so I'm just going to challenge for 1 second. So, like, people want it. Where do you need it?
Farmers, irrigation.
Sure.
They can see like parts, but it would help them out if they could see the whole entire field and the spots that are dry.
Yeah.
I don't know. I also had a pretty funny idea. You could tie like a fireman's hose onto a drone, like fly it up like 10 stories, and it'd be quicker than them running up there with the ladder or something.
I think that's incredible. So here's the thing. That's actually a phenomenal idea, so somebody can steal it, or you can run with it.
It's out there now.
I think that's great, and you're kind of in that hypothesis stage. But I think when you start with that, like, where's the need? Right? Like, if you did get that through, like if you actually created it, and let's say that this is available. It's available that a fire department could have this drone that flies a hose to a building.
Yeah.
All of a sudden it would become a need, because what city wants to have the fire department that doesn't have this awesome technology that saves lives? You know, that could transform into a need. The other one, of course, is like a real estate person that's trying to market a house.
Oh, yeah,
There's another really good way, because if you have to, right, and you're selling land and stuff like that, you have to get a drone, and a lot of people can't do it. So
yeah, for sure.
I love it, man. I like what you're doing, and that's cool. If you're on a lake?
Yeah.
Oh, I lived on a lake for a little bit. I love boats, so that's
it's
super
the best.
cool. Who else? Anybody else kind of start a business or in the back?
Yep.
Cool. So landscape design. I'll let the microphone come around to you there.
Aaron's got it.
Where are we at? And I'm sorry, what was your name and what year are you?
Josh and a junior.
Cool.
Basically, at the age of 12, I was cutting my neighbor's lawn, and then year after year, just progressively started to build more money and, you know, buy more equipment. And by the age of 16, bought a car, well, a truck, trailer, etc. And now we're at, you know, 3 trucks, 3 trailers, a crew of like 15 guys. And
Dude, what like an awesome story.
Yeah.
If you don't mind me asking, how much do you make off of it?
annually, like 120 to 140K.
Okay, and this is what I'm talking about. So like, what other kid on the planet, and I'll use kid because I'm old now, so I'm an old man, but what are you, maybe 20?
21.
Okay, so 21 is making that kind of money while you're in school. That's unbelievable, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I applaud you, man. That's just freaking rocking.
Thank you.
So what do you want to do with that business? What's your end goal with it?
I'd love to grow it, and I mean, we've been slowly dipping our feet in, like I said, design, like anything, you know, pools, hot tubs, fireplaces, grills, etc. So I mean, basically, we'd like to expand in the residential as well as, you know, the commercial, because that's just kind of constant cash flow. So
That sounds rocking, man. And is that what you want to pursue after you're done with it?
yeah, I'd like to see where it goes. I mean, it's been just each year is kind of just exponentially growing. So we'd like to see where it goes.
And where's the need? Where do customers most need the stuff that you can offer?
I would say
Obviously, you found it.
It's kind of like everywhere. I mean, basically all the local baseball fields, like my guy over there was saying with the drone, that was like right off of like 2 years ago I purchased one, and that's kind of how all the marketing, et cetera, is kind of taking shape.
So let me ask you one more question. Everybody talks about entrepreneurship as being risky. Do you think that it's more risky to go to school and try to make $5 an hour at Cottage Inn? Or is it actually less risky to start a business where you can make 6 figures when you're 20 years old? 21, sorry.
I don't know. I mean, I never knew where it would come. I mean, just basically the word of mouth. I mean, I sponsored our local high schools, et cetera, all their sports teams, just kind of get the name out there. And I mean, the responses were unbelievable, and people to take faith in, you know, at 17 years old, I installed my first, you know, brick paver patio with, you know, a built-in grill and outdoor kegerator. So, I mean, before I could even drink, I was designing plans for, you know, 35-year-old, you know, adults, so.
I think that's awesome. And the story that you're telling is great because it's like the first thing you did was you just started with the lawn.
Yeah.
And that's where it always starts. Everyone's like, oh man, how do I jump into this business where I can make all this money? It's like you don't. You do one, and then you do another one, and it just kind of grows and it keeps expanding. And
yeah, it was just basically slow. I mean, you work up enough money to buy this, then buy that, and you know, now this year we're looking into, you know, getting the larger property, et cetera, so.
Dude, that's an inspiring story, and Aaron should interview you on one of these things. That's rocking. Anybody else have something cool that they've tackled? Yeah, in the back. Yeah.
I got you.
What was your name and what year are you?
My name is Tenza, and I'm 21 years old. So I want to ask you a question. When you start up, you know, start to build your company, do you have some money problem? Because you want to build your company bigger and bigger, but it needs money. So if you don't have much money, how do you overcome this problem?
Yeah, so I mean, I think it's probably what these guys have done. You know, you start with one lawn and you make, you know, I have no idea, $20, and then you save it and you keep doing that and you put it together. I didn't have any real savings. I had about $10,000, and it was just one deal paid for the next. So we just kind of started, you know, I'd put one deal together. You know, if we could help buy a house, sell a house, I'd make, you know, $10,000 on that. We'd then pool that and put it into the next one, and, you know, kind of kept going with that. Nobody would fund me. I was 25 years old. I couldn't even get a credit card because I had bad credit because I was not very smart with that kind of stuff. So it was really just completely organic. Other folks are able to go the other route, which is you go and raise capital, right? And you can put that together. I will just say I've now done both. I mean, we do now have capital and equity partners, and that came later. And there are different stresses and things that come along with that. It depends on your personality, and it's what you love, right? So if you're really good at working with investors and sharing with them all kinds of financials and showing where things are, that's probably a great way to go, is go try to raise some money and get some investors. If you're somebody who just has like a very, very strong vision on where you're going with stuff, which was a little bit where I was at that point, it's probably better running it on your own. But the end goal is to always build something that has some value. I mean, I'd argue that you probably have a business that's worth $600,000-$700,000, maybe $1 million, right? I mean, like if you were to do a multiple off of your business. So I mean, the ability to start something and create that kind of wealth at a young age is amazing. So that's my suggestion. Just do it. And if the cash flow coming off of everything keeps building and it's doing well, you use that cash flow to do the next thing.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Anyone else? All right. Are we sure?
Oh, come on. I know that there's other questions.
They're all just sitting there waiting. They're like, somebody else will raise their hand.
Well, at any rate, any other like cool stories or things that you guys have pieced together? I hadn't. I mean, some of these things are like beyond anything that I've ever done. My biggest message I would just kind of share with everybody is that you just follow your heart, you do stuff that you love, and you find a need. I heard some teacher tell a group of people, you could do anything that you want. And I would change it slightly and say you can do anything that you want as long as you're good at it and there's a market for it. So like recognize in yourself what you are actually really good at. Like I am not going to be in the NBA. Like I don't get to say like I'm a hard worker so I'm going to be in the NBA. This is not going to happen, right? Like there's just not a market for 37-year-olds that are only halfway as good at basketball in the NBA. So you have to really recognize what you're good at, and then you also have to look at the market and go like, what is there really a market for? And then generally when you're rocking at something, you find passion in that thing. I think a lot of people start with trying to say like, well, what's my passion in life? And I'll tell you that if you're really good at something and there's a huge market for it, you will find passion in that. You'll be like, man, this is awesome. Because everybody that you're going out to is going like, wow, that Ideanator is awesome. And you're like, I know, it's so fun. And you love doing it, and they love getting it, and it's all kind of jiving.
Beautiful. Well, thank you everyone for joining us. Thank you so much, Mike. It's such a pleasure.
Thanks,
so
man.
appreciated.
Thanks,
Thank you so much. And join us for our next Innovate State, which is on March 19th. Have a great night, everyone.
Thanks.